Hi there, welcome back. It's been quite a while since my last restoration, so I'm actually looking forward to this. I get a bit antsy when I go for some time without getting into some of these old sets. Anyway, this is a Philips BX626Z, and it's from 1952, which makes it probably the second oldest radio I've restored. I've done a previous one, which was a Murphy set from 1947, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be quite a bit of fun for me anyway, and I hope it is for you. This radio belongs to a friend of mine, and as usual for radios that I find in Madeira, it is an AM, shortwave and broadcast band set. There's no FM. There is an input for gramophone, which makes this a good contender for a Bluetooth adaptation. But no FM. And the reason is very simple. FM came to Madeira, I believe, 55, 56 years ago. So before that, there was no FM. And these sets were connected Madeira to the world. This one is actually not from Madeira. It actually lived its life on the island of Porto Santo, which is even more isolated than we are. And at the time when electricity was first installed, it used to work for a few hours a day, so this set has a particular feature which is quite interesting. It actually operates from a battery. I'm not sure how it does, but we'll find out together. Now, the condition is a bit mixed. The body itself it's Bakelite, it's not wood. And the body itself is actually in pretty good condition, in very good condition actually. All the plastics here, although they are tainted and stained, are intact. There's no cracks, no broken pieces. All the labeling is fine, which is the actually a good start to getting this back to its former glory. The knobs are all here. This one has actually come loose, but it's all here, and they're in pretty good condition, so they need the proper cleanup and everything else. Now, we do have two slight problems. This thing has a pretty strange indicator system, because there's it's a 6-band set, I believe. There it is. 6 bands. One of them, I presume, is the gramophone. So 5 bands, which means there's broadcast band and 4 shortwave bands. So as you can see, all the wiring, all the indicators are floating around here. I'm not sure exactly what's happened there. We'll have to find out. And also the grill cloth has seen much better days. It's not only stained, but it's actually been bitten through by bookworm, which is not a good thing. But otherwise, it seems to be in pretty good nick. It also has a band spread, which I presume is for the shortwave bands. There's a tone control. But there is bass and treble switching at the bottom. So there's a switch at the bottom. This thing here this is the on-off switch, I believe, and then there's a volume control here, controlled with this knob. This here is the band selector, and this here is the tuning. Okay, so yeah, we've got these labeled here. This is band 2, which is megacycles. So this is one of the shortwave bands from 1 point something to 5 megahertz. Band 4 over here is from 22 to 33. That's meters. So this will be 5 megahertz to 9.5 megahertz. This is band 3, which is, God, I don't know, 98765 to 9 megahertz. And then at the top here we've got band 1, and that goes, this is the medium wave, and over there we have band 5 and 6. So where's the gramophone? Well, we'll find out. Not a problem. As you can see, the actual woodwork, or the Bakelite's in pretty good nick all the way around. A couple of nicks here and there, like on that corner, but I don't think that's anything to worry about. We can sort that out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that grill cloth, because that thing definitely needs to be changed. I'll have to try and find it. It has a magic eye, So yeah, okay, this is a strange one, because usually at that age, in the 50s, 52, this would normally have been a wooden set. So Bakelite would have been pretty innovative use of Bakelite here. Let's have a look at the back. Again, the back panel is in very, very good condition, and we start seeing some details which makes this one stand out a bit. This is that battery connector, and the switch actually says AC 0, which I presume is off, and then it says 6-volt battery. Now that should be interesting. Let's see how that works. The battery connector, no idea what the wiring on that is. Label on there that gives us the technical department, and it's interesting, the phone number had 3 digits in those days. Down here we've got the voltage selector. This is set to 20, which is fine. Our label there, external speaker, gramophone input, and then the antenna and earth connection. So everything looks fine here. There's a little bit of a ding on there, on that board there, but that's not serious. This thing's in pretty good shape. Let's have a look inside. There's a switch on the back for the voltage, the mains, the off, and the 6-volt connector. And there we have it. Nothing too dramatic at first sight, except for these holes in the wood there. That's wood. This is all Bakelite, but that's a wood panel. And that guy definitely has seen better days. Bookworms got to it, so we'll have to sort something out there. It's got the speaker's in perfect condition. And then we have the rest. We've got there's our tuning capacitor. The grommets seem to have given way. The RF sections, there's our first tube. It's an EF41, which is a bit not unusual, but not so often used in the German sets. Not sure what that is. Okay, we'll have to look at the details when we get to the schematic, but we've got our power transformer. It's got a tube rectifier on there. Again, not sure if it's working. There's no rust on the set. There's a lot of dust, but no rust, which is a good start, always. And I don't see any signs of overheating on the transformer or anything dramatic. This actually looks pretty clean, very clean. And obviously with quite a bit that needs changing, capacitors and so forth, and everything needs checking, but at least the carcass looks good, if you can say that about a carcass, but it looks pretty good. So the next step, as you can see, there's not much we can see at the top here. The IF transformers are there. There's quite a bit of tuning that's done on here. Now, a lot of these capacitors, these are capacitors, I believe. Yeah, they are. They're trimmer caps. That's another one there. These are all coils, trimmer coils. So as we can see, any adjustments, any RF alignment and IF alignment needs to be done, can be done from the top, which is quite a change. Usually you've got to go underneath. Even the IF transformers, you do at the top, you've got the 2 coils accessible directly from the back here. So we don't have to, adjust the one at the top and one at the bottom. It makes it a lot easier to tune this thing. So I think that's about all we can see for now. A lot of the tuning dial wires are floating around here. I'll have to be careful how I remove that. Actually, I'm not sure how I'm going to remove this, because you need to take quite a bit of wire out of here. I'll probably just remove that whole back panel so that I can keep it together and get this thing on that contraption of mine to start doing the servicing and checking. But yeah, what I do have, I've got the schematic for the BX626A. Now, I can't find one for the Z model, but the 626A is practically the same. It doesn't, however, have that voltage adjustment, that battery connector. And I'm very curious to see how that works, actually, because if you've got 6-volt battery going in here, this thing must be somehow stepping it up. I don't know. We'll see. I know that some of the old ones used to use something called ironically called a vibrator, which was basically an inverter. It vibrated. It's like basically a double pole switch vibrating at a certain frequency, and that then fed a transformer, very much like a step-up system would be today, using, say, MOSFETs or even transistors to create a square wave on one side of a transformer, the secondary, or rather the low power side, and then you'd get the high voltage on the other end. So maybe this uses something similar, I'm not sure. We'll see. Right, time to get this thing out of the case and see what we're facing, because I can't see anything on the underside with this thing in the cabinet. Right, I've got this thing on its front and the bottom plate has come off and things start getting interesting. Lots of dust and fluff and everything else, but the inside doesn't look like it's been touched, which is brilliant. This is how I like them. When you have something like this that hasn't been tampered with, the chances are nobody's messed anything up. So it should be a lot easier to fix. Now all these caps are going to need to go. These guys are notoriously leaky. All these black caps are terrible. But otherwise, this thing looks pretty clean. Very clean, in fact. Everything looks to be operational. I don't see much drama in here. And that's a good thing when you're doing one of these. Drama's bad. And this thing is interesting. Now, this is one of two things. I'm looking for, yes, the filter capacitor. The main filter capacitor is up here. That's that guy there. It's probably a dual section capacitor. So this thing here is probably that vibrator thing, the voltage inverter. If I had to guess, that's what I'd guess that is, but we'll find out soon enough. So a few pulleys around here, the flywheel for the tuning, switching. A lot of mechanical stuff in here that looks in very, very good shape, which is fantastic. All the wiring is not particularly dense. You can actually see it, you can see the components, you can actually get to them, which sometimes is a problem. So this should be fun. We carry on. Okay, this I did not expect. The front panel is actually part of the chassis. It's connected up to the bottom here. So this panel here with the speaker on does not come off without unscrewing it at the front. The whole thing just slides out of there. As you can see, the usual fluff and dirt, but nothing serious. Time to get the cabinet out of the way and start seeing how I'm going to get this thing ready for to work on, because this panel I probably will have to remove to be able to work on it. I think you just unscrew the bottom. All these dial cables actually go across the front, which is why this thing is stuck on. But because all the cables are loose anyway, I guess the best thing to do would be to just dismantle this and get it out of the way. These dial lamps here, there's two dial lamps here on the sides. There's another one there, and they're obviously connected to the heater circuit of the transformer. I've already clipped off the speaker wires and just labeled them. It's just two wires. I'll probably now clip off these two so that I can get rid of the front. Okay, that's all out of there. The magic eye obviously had to come out as well, and we start seeing some details, and some of them are pretty interesting. First of all, the tuning mechanism is pretty simple. All that cabling is simply for the dial indicators, because when you tune, the tuning condenser turns there as well. So we don't really need the dial indicators and all that, oh, damn it, I keep forgetting the name, all that cabling to get the tuning to work. That's set up permanently over here. Then there's something else which I find quite fascinating. I saw what looked like two nails over here, and I had no idea what they were till I realized this is the band spread. That's how the band spread works. You've got two coils in there, and what you're moving in and out is the core, which changes the inductance of those cores, of those coils. And those coils are obviously in parallel with some internal coil that's part of the oscillator circuit. So when you do this, you're increasing and decreasing the inductance in the tank circuit, which makes the oscillation frequency change slightly. Now, obviously, this must be very slightly, otherwise you just use the tuning condenser. So what I've noticed here is all the rubbers here, there's two rubbers here that should push those nails in and out, and they've dried out. The back one seems to be having some effect, the front one not so much. But that's how that works, and I find that quite amazing. Pretty clever. So everything is there, just needs changing of probably some grommets or rubbers on there. And this thing should be put to work again. That's simply the switch. So yeah, this looks interesting. Now, what I need to do is start my usual procedure, and that means checking the power supply, checking the output transformer, going through the circuit at the front end, so at the power end, before actually powering up the circuit. When I know that that's working, I'll obviously have to check the filter capacitor as well. When I've got that working and I've convinced myself that the output transformer is okay, then I start with the usual, which is power amplifier first, the AF section first, and then work backwards. And in this case we don't have FM, so when we work backwards we're working through the IF sections and then all the way back to the RF sections and oscillator sections and so on. So it should be quite interesting. I'm looking forward to this because this is, in fact, this format is slightly different to what I've worked on before, and it always makes it something more challenging when you are learning something along the way. And if you follow the series, I hope you learn something too. So I'll see you soon when I have something to report.